Hi guys, I thought I would show you how I make Indian fry bread today. And pick this up because it really goes well with, you can make a dessert out of it. You can you can put beans or hamburger meat or taco meat over the top of it with cheese and lettuce and just pretty much anything you want. It's real easy to make. The first thing I do is I take 2 cups of flour. Now it's these coffee mug type cups, not a regular measuring cup, okay? 2 of these coffee type mugs, and then a heaping teaspoon, a regular teaspoon, a heaping teaspoon of baking powder in there with some salt, depending on how much salt you want. I put probably a half of one of these in there, okay? You mix it up together. You make a well in the middle, okay? Super easy. Now you can use powdered milk if you have it, which for an SHTF situation that might be all you have, or if you have access to fresh milk, you can use fresh milk. Now this milk's lukewarm. You don't want to use cold milk or cold water in your dough, okay? So what you do is you make the well, make sure your hands are clean. After you've mixed up those 3 ingredients, or 4 if you use powdered milk, and you pour some in here and you start working it. And what you're going for, oops, made a mess. It's okay, we'll survive. And what you're going for is a soft dough, not hard, not super sticky, kind of in the middle, okay? I'm going to need some more now. I only had 1 big cup of milk. I may have to get a little water to go with it. And if I do, it's no big deal. Okay? Because you can do this with water as well as milk. I prefer the milk, personally. You know, if you get it too dry, you can add more milk or water. If you get it too wet, you can add a little more flour. It's not, like I said before, this isn't rocket science. Okay? Basically what we're doing is kind of kneading it right now, okay? If I need a little bit more flour, I got some right here. I may have put too much milk in there. Maybe not. After we get this good and mixed, and kneading is important, not like you would regular bread dough though, okay? This is not the same type of dough. I mean, it's similar, but it's not exactly what you would do to make a loaf of bread, okay? This has no yeast in it, okay? And we're just gonna continue kneading it. I'm gonna need some more water, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this all incorporated in here first. Let me go get some water. And you just don't want cold water, guys. Now I could use more milk, but I'd have to warm it up. So I'm just going to use water. And we'll keep going until it's all incorporated. See, in the bottom there's still a bunch of flour. Okay? And yes, it's a little messy. Now, if you have one of those things you can do dough in, you can use one of those mixers that you make dough. You know, I don't have one of those, so I just use my hands. I just make sure they're clean first, that's all. It's going to be almost sticky when you're done, okay? You want it soft, not hard, okay? And you want it almost sticky, where you would, if you mess with it too much, you'd have to add a little bit more flour. And we're going to knead it. Basically, we're just making sure it's all mixed really well. Okay. Now you can make a bigger recipe or a smaller recipe. Now what you do, and I learned this when I lived in Gallup off the Navajo Indian Reservation, okay, is, let me wash my hands off while I'm talking, is that for every one of these coffee cups full of flour, or every, yeah, you'll want one less teaspoon of baking powder than you do cups of flour, okay? So if you were to get 4 cups of flour, you put 3 heaping teaspoons of the baking powder, okay? I went with 2 cups of flour, so I put 1 and about a little bit more of another one in there so that it would all, so I'd make sure I had plenty of baking powder. And that's the whole thing, you gotta make sure you have enough, okay? This looks like it ought to be about the right consistency here. Now, in the meanwhile, I'm heating up my oil because I use lard for this. You can use vegetable oil if you want, but it's not necessary. You can. I prefer to use lard. I think it gives a better flavor. Okay. Open this up. I just want to keep the outside a little drier so that it doesn't stick to me. Now that I've got it all mixed up. Okay, we're just wanting the gluten to form because you want it stretchy. Okay, you don't want this real sticky when you go to pulling it out. We're just going to continue to work it. We want the dough nice and soft. Okay. We're just working the dough because we want it to get it to the stretchy, soft stage. Then we're going to let it sit. Okay. We're going to let this sit for about 20 minutes. We're going to let it rise up a little bit. And yes, I know it doesn't have yeast in it, but it'll rise a little. So we're going to let that go. Now on your grease, you want your grease really hot, okay? Almost to the point of smoking. Some people like their grease to smoke. Now what I've done here is I've made it deep enough by melting lard so that I can actually cook these things because you have to deep fry them. I'm going to put just a little bit more in there. Be careful with the grease, especially if you got kids around, because it'll splash, of course. There we go. All right, we're gonna let that melt. Then I'm gonna turn the grease down as soon as that, actually I could turn that, go ahead and turn it off for now. That'll go ahead and melt on its own. I just wanted to get the grease all melted. So, all right, I'll be back in 20 minutes to show you how to form them up. This is not my strong suit, so you'll have to bear with me on that. Sometimes I mess up on the forming up. Now you can roll them out with a rolling pin, which I have done in the past, but I want to try to be able to show you how to do it by hand. If I mess it up, I'll roll it out. It's not a big deal. If you mess something up or if it messes up too bad, you can always just reform it into a ball and take care of it from there. It's perfectly fine. We're just going to let this sit. Oh, I need to get a clean towel to cover that up. Here we go. I have 2 cats. I don't want them getting up here and putting their nose in there. Okay, we're going to let you go for about 20 minutes and we'll be back. Hey guys, I almost forgot to tell you that this is the same recipe you can use for bannock bread, okay? So, you know, you can add the powdered milk to it, put it all in a baggie and take it with you when you go camping. Mix it in the baggie without ever getting your fingers dirty, and then putting it in a pan and cooking it, or add less liquid and make it more stiff so that you can wrap it around a stick. Anything like that. So it's versatile. You can do a lot with this particular dough recipe. So anyway, I'll put you back on hold, and we're almost halfway through the rising process, so hang on. Okay guys, the grease is good and hot, and here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pinch off a little bit, just enough to make a ball. I'm going to start flattening it out a little bit, and I'm going to pull the edges. Okay, and I'm turning it as I go to keep it into a somewhat round shape. Shape is not necessarily near as important as the thickness of the dough. Okay, this dough's nice and stretchy, but if you happen to get a hole in it, put a hole in it. If you happen to get a hole in it, it's no big deal. Just pinch it back together. Okay, and you just work it around. Pinch it back together. You just work it around and kind of thin it out. And when you get it the size that you want, okay, now size depends. If you want a bigger thing of dough, or a bigger one, then you're gonna make a bigger pinch of dough. Okay, now what you do is you throw it back and forth, and you're turning it every time. Okay, what you're doing is you're stretching the dough. All right. And if it looks like it's getting uneven, you just press it back into a round shape. It's not a big deal. I'll turn this around so you can see. Okay, the grease is very hot. Okay, I used a small pinch of dough so that I could show you a smaller one. This thing cooks super fast, so do not walk away from it. Okay, and have something in here, like a fork or something, to poke the bad holes out of to poke the bad bubbles out of it. And I'll show you the bad bubbles here in a second. The bad bubbles are the bubbles that come up from underneath. The good bubbles are what forms inside. Okay, so here we got our dough. Just lay it down in there and poke it. You see that hole in the middle? You see that? Now, the minute it starts turning brown on the edges, which it'll only take it a second, okay, it's already starting to get there. Turn it. Okay, that's how quick it cooks with hot grease. And your grease must be very hot. Okay? It takes, you know, like less than a minute per. Okay? Now, you take it and you drain it. Now, I'm not going to cook all of them on camera for you. I just wanted to show you this one. Now, for a dessert, I already cooked one ahead of time so I could have it cooled down enough to show you. If you want to make it sweeter, you can drizzle honey over it, or you can take powdered sugar. Let's see if I can get this to show it. There we go. And just sprinkle it with powdered sugar. Okay, this is just a tea bowl. That's all this is. Okay, just a little thing, and then you can rip it apart and eat it, and it is super good, guys. Navajo fry bread. It's what's for dinner. No, it's good stuff. Okay. Now you can make Indian tacos out of it. Make it a slightly thicker consistency. Wrap it on a stick, cook it over a campfire, whatever you want to do. But it's Indian fry bread, and it is wonderful. And it's super easy to make. Your family's going to fight over it. If I can get you to hit the thumbs up, I'd appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends. Check out my links down below, and y'all come back and see me.